Welcome to PFlax in the morning. Robe acquired. Got lucky. I asked at the front desk, and the guy gave me a sort of a weird double take. He was like, why would you need a bathrobe in the summer? But he brought me one, which was good of him. Day 2 at TI. Yesterday was a lot of fun. Hung out, saw everybody, chatted to everybody about how things are going, and chatting to Ken about what we've got planned. Chatted to Slacks about all the many things he's got planned. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Went to the players' dinner, like I said, which was in the middle of the park. I think it's called Stanley Park, at a really cool place. I thought the food was nice, and they had an axe throwing competition out the back, which I'd never done before. It's like big circular bullseyes painted red, and the axe is like a hand axe, and you have to throw the axe and try and get it onto the board. And initially, nobody could hit the board. Like the first few times you try it, but eventually you get this technique down. Now, one person had the best axe throwing technique out of anybody, and that was Sir Action Slacks, which absolutely blew my mind. I had no idea. It was like watching, imagine if there was a big battle, and there's one guy that's like your champion. In this instance, unbelievable as it may sound, it would be Jake, Sir Action Slacks Canner, because he threw that axe, not just, like I just developed a technique. I got a few bullseyes, I was getting decent points. Everyone that did it went onto a board. We wrote down all the scores, and the top 6 people went into the grand final. A couple of people didn't make it, so a couple of people snuck in, myself included. I think it was like the bullseye was 5, then it was the rings were worth. It was 5 for the bullseye, then 4, 3, 2, 1 for the other rings. And I think I got 22 or 24 when I had a go. And then a couple of people that scored better than me didn't turn up for the grand final, so I snuck in. At the halfway point in the grand final, I was leading, and then my next 2 axes missed. They hit the board and bounced off. Now, Jake didn't have that problem, because my technique was to stand slightly further back, and then you take one step and just throw, and you release with your arms straight, like that. His technique was to just fucking, like he just threw it like he was trying to murder somebody, and it worked. But he did not win the grand final. He got a couple of bounces as well. But my God, it was fun. Throwing axes was so much fun. The other alternative on the other lawn was cornhole, which is still one of the funniest names for a game I've ever seen. Very American. I think it's just a board with holes in it, and you throw a sack, a little tiny sack, like a hacky sack kind of thing. You just have to throw it in the hole. Cornhole. Or axe throwing. I went for axe throwing. But it was good. It was really funny. One problem in the park, I was vaping, and the security guard rushes up to me and says, "You can't vape here. If the police or the park rangers see you vaping in Stanley Park, it'll cost you a $500 fine and you'll get removed from the park." I was like, "Vaping?" He goes, "Some of these trees are over 1,000 years old. You can't do it because it could start a fire." And I'm looking around and I'm thinking, first of all, if the battery exploded, I could believe that. But by that token, phones shouldn't be allowed in because they could also explode. Second of all, most of those forest fires and things like that are started by people flicking cigarettes away. Or, as I saw recently, they think that the fire in California, which has been terrible, was started by someone's tire rupturing, and the metal edge of the rim of their wheel sparking on the ground and sending sparks into the undergrowth. Now, I don't think if I was vaping and my battery exploded, that we wouldn't be able to contain it, given that it wasn't dry. I was in the restaurant. I wasn't going off into the bushes and finding the driest piece of land that I could to vape there. I was just chilling on the wooden decking. So I was kind of surprised about the no vaping thing. I also think it discourages people. It encourages people to not smoke by giving them an alternative, if you know what I mean. Because, smoking obviously in a park is ridiculously dangerous. People light their cigarettes with matches and throw those away. People finish with a cigarette, they throw it on the ground. That could easily start a fire, I get that. But when you have cars and mobile phones, I think cars are far more likely to start a fire than a vape, and cigarettes definitely. But phones as well, they the batteries on those things can go up. If you're saying those things are unlikely, I think to start a fire with a vape is pretty unlikely. I'd like to see the details, the statistics and the data on how many fires have been started by vaping. I think it would be pretty low. But anyway, it's their park, so I abided. But that was a weird thing. The same security guard who was working at the restaurant told me, he was a funny guy actually. He was an older guy, maybe in his 50s, but he was clearly quite a hard lad. You know, big lad, and he demonstrated. He was talking to the barman about some bouncing he'd done recently in some security, and he was talking to me about all the road rage incidents that he's been involved in. He said he's been involved in like 8 road rage incidents, and he's had a gun pulled on him twice. And one of them when he was a police officer and he was off duty, and someone showed him their gun. Like the cars pulled over to argue, and the guy got out and showed him his gun and put it back. So he followed after him in a bit, pulled him over and took his gun out, and he was showing me all this, these little actions in the middle of the bar. He's like, so I drew down on him. I told him to get down on the floor, and I showed him my badge, and I arrested him. And then so this other guy comes at me, broke his arm, twisted it back, snapped his neck, and then fucking arrested him. You know, it was like he mimed out all the moves like some kind of, self-defense shit. I thought that was pretty funny. But he was a nice guy. But he said he was in Sao Paulo, and his cab driver got into an argument with another cab driver. They ended up like bashing together like a sort of 80s police show chase. Bang, bang. Eventually, this one cab runs his cab off the road, and he's up on the pavement. The cab driver gets out, goes on the back, takes a rifle out of the boot, and shoots a shot through the other guy's cab, like right through the back of his cab. And then this other guy zooms off. So the cab driver gets back in and starts driving like he's just going to finish the fare. And the security guard was like, "Can you let me out, please?" And he said, in the end, he said he had to threaten to choke the cab driver out in order to get out of the cab. I was like, oh, wow, what a story. Wow. Jeez. I'm going to play some pool today with Sind. Cinderin always asks me to play pool at TI. Always, always, always. He loves it. And I think, like me, he doesn't get much of a chance to play pool the rest of the time. Me and Cinder are about equal at pool. Draskell would normally be our third. And the three of us have gone off and played poker for hours at previous TIs. But obviously Draskell isn't here, sadly, so we'll be playing with Paul Challoner. Apparently he's very good. But we'll see. If we're on our game, we might be able to beat him. One thing that might help is I have different glasses. You may notice my glasses are slightly bigger. I got some new specs. They're a cool blue. I like them a lot. I got them in Florida a couple of weeks ago because my other pair, which is now my reserve pair, which had been my main pair for like 4 years, I was in my dad's pool. Glasses came off, sunk to the bottom, and when I went to pick them up, because I sort of had to dive down and swipe them off the bottom of the pool, I felt them scuff the bottom of the pool. And when I got up to the top, if you look at these ones, you can see there's that. See the way the color is kind of. Oh, by the way, it makes my mouth look tiny. Look at that. Welcome to PFlax in the morning. TI8 edition, episode 2. Or could make my top of my head look very small. Look at that. Anyway, if you look, it's got a kind of a weird colorization thing there. You see that way it makes the outside look green? That's an anti-glare sort of coating that they put, and it's also a scratch-resistant coating that they put on the outside of the lens. And unfortunately, it got scratched. And while the glasses still work, it means there's a little hole that's a slightly different color, and it's noticeable. It has noticeable edges. So it means that when I'm looking, there's like a permanent fuzzy mark in one eye. So I had to get new glasses. I went to the opticians. This was some high-tech. I'm showing a little too much skin here. Goodness me. I went to the opticians. It was unbelievably high-tech. They had like a pair of binoculars mounted in a big black computer thing. And you peer through those, and it auto-focuses. So you're looking at a hot air balloon on the horizon. There's like a road leading up to it. And she says, just look at the balloon. And you look at the balloon, and it's out of focus. And then the machine just goes, and it's in focus. It just knows what your eye is trying to do to focus on that long distance, and it just does it. I was like, fuck, that's amazing. then you look through this other thing and it scans your eye. Now I've had these things before, but it just shines a light in. But this goes, and shines a green laser on the inside of your eye, and then it shows you a perfect view of the inside of your eyeball, so they can look for any health problems that you've got with your eye, and I had none. They had a poster on the wall of all the many things you can have wrong with your eye, and I carefully checked it, and I had none of them. One of them was called bear paws, which I thought was interesting. It looked like a bear had been walking on the inside of your eye, which would be incredibly painful. But instead, I guess it's something else. And then for the actual eye test, the one I'd been used to when I was going to my local opticians in Twickenham was the old, you sit in the chair and there's a board with letters, and the person has to put the thing in, take the thing out. Better? Worse? Better? Better? Worse? Worse or better? A or B? A? B? And you'd be like, I think B. It's very close. It's kind of too hard to call, but A or B? I'd say A slightly. Okay. What about now? Oh yeah. Oh, that's loads better. Whereas now this is just a machine. She just goes, which one's better? It goes. And I was like, this is unbelievable. It took like 5 minutes to do the whole thing. It normally takes half an hour. They got to fumble around with little fucking discs. She's checking they're the right one. Click, click, click. This optician, she did it so fast. I was like, this is the best eye test I've ever had. I've never been so excited by an eye test as I was. It was phenomenal. The groups have been released for TI. Let's talk about TI briefly. I haven't got them to hand because my computer's over there and my phone is over here. But hey, exciting groups. Should be good. Looking forward to it. I've also been talking to the guys about OpenAI a lot. The players and a lot of the very good sort of the talent who are good players or ex-players are kind of obsessed with OpenAI. It's very interesting. I don't know if some of these games are private or whatever, so I'm not going to release the details of who I know has played and how they've done. If it's public knowledge, so be it. I didn't know it was, but either way, a lot of good teams, a lot of good players have been playing against this thing and losing. And one of the things that happens is there is apparently a way to beat it at the moment, which is if the computer loses the laning stage, it doesn't know how to recover and is naturally risk averse. And the problem is when it can't win fights, it doesn't realize that sometimes you have to do something like smoke and gamble. The computer hasn't figured that out yet, which I thought was interesting. But winning the laning stage against a computer is extremely difficult. Extremely difficult. It does remember 180 years worth of Dota games per day that it runs. So anytime you come against it and you think, yeah, we beat it, you could come back a day later and suddenly it's got more Dota hours than anyone in one team. Like if you added the Dota time for 5 players together, the machine has just played your entire life history of Dota times 2 or 3 in a day. So however good you think you are and however much you think, yeah, we beat it, you just need to give it a day and it'll come back and it might be even better. But obviously it does have issues, there are problems. Dota is an incredibly complicated game, and whilst the computer is extremely good, it hasn't yet learned how to deal with certain situations, which I think is fascinating. And I look forward to seeing it improve. Although I am also, because I'm a pessimist, I think, concerned for what this would mean for the future in terms of what it would do to jobs and all the rest of it. I know people have said, they said the same thing during the Industrial Revolution about the plow, not the plow, what was it called? The plow, the various improvements, the spinning jenny and all this kind of stuff. All the industrial improvements that they made, they were like, well, they're going to cost jobs. All the farming improvements that were made, well, they're going to cost jobs. It's true, people did find other things to do. But I think there is a difference. I know when the computer was seen as coming into the office, it did take a lot of jobs. But it also created a lot of jobs. So computer programmers and all the rest of it, like a whole industry, essentially. And in fact, definitely sprung up around computers. If you think about it, the computer game industry, just off the top of my head, would be a good example. However, in all those instances, a computer, whilst it is doing a job for you, is also creating an industry. Now, if I have a perfect artificial intelligence that can handle everything, including making other computers, that's a question you've got to ask yourself. At what point do we even have the computers designing themselves and the computers writing the code? That's the point at which I think you've then taken a huge tranche of jobs, and it's not like the OpenAI is going to create jobs. You know what I mean? Like if there's a massive AI that can pretty much do everything, which is what we're headed towards, or a series of smaller like agents, so this is the perfect AI for computer programming. Well, everyone's going to use that, because especially if you're a business, if you're still getting human morons to write your code, and you can just go to a machine and say, hey, we need a piece of code that's like the perfect piece of accounting software, and it just goes, done, and it's perfect, by the way, there's no bugs. Here you go. That's pretty unbelievable. It would obviously still require testing, and I'm sure there'd be iterations where you say, actually, computer, you got this wrong, and the computer would say, I don't think I did, I think you're the one with the problem, and in order to change it and make the code perfect, I'm going to have to destroy humanity. There's potential for that there. I think it would worry the shareholders. It would worry me. Because if you imagine, I watched a very interesting video about robots, and if you give a robot a win condition that says things like, don't let anybody in this house, or something like that, it was like, so some win condition that you give it, and one of the solutions to that win condition is to kill the person that you're working for, because then they'll never ask for coffee again, or something like that. The condition is, if this person wants coffee, you must make sure they don't need coffee anymore. It's like, well, if I kill them, they'll never need coffee. You've got to be careful with AI, especially with win conditions. I am definitely paraphrasing or getting that completely wrong, one of the two, but it's something like that, and you can look it up and satisfy your own fucking curiosity. Man, this has been a rambler. I've got breakfast with Hotbid. We're going to discuss what we're going to do today. I'm going to visit the venue, visit a few other things that I need to see, play pool with Cinderin, and then I think I'm good. Saw Bruno yesterday. I haven't seen Bruno in a while. Always good to see my boy Bruno. What else did we do? Went to Starbucks. That's a thrilling one for you. Yeah, just sort of chilled. Anyway, that was PFlax in the morning, TI8 edition episode 2. As you see, the robe is back. I might change the angle yesterday. Previously, I've tried to film these in different locations within the hotel room to add a bit of flavor. In bed, but this is a good spot, good light, and I think we're just going to stick with this spot. So if you look at the list of these at the end of TI, and there'll be a lot of them because they've started early. I'm going after this early. This is going to have to continue every day. I might change the spot around, but I'm not sure I can be asked. I have a pile of laundry to do today, and I hope the hotel is ready because, like I said yesterday, I was on holiday for 2 weeks, so everything I brought with me, I've already worn. So, and also the stuff that I need to use for on camera needs to be ironed because it's got to be sharp. So today I'm going to do laundry. Here's the order of things I'm going to do today. Have breakfast with Ken, do my laundry, wait until lunchtime, maybe meet up with Ken and talk about some stuff, go to the venue and have a look around there and a few other things I need to look at, have dinner, and then just mess around. That's my day. Play pool with Sind. I mustn't forget because he'll be furious. Anyway. One quick thing. When we were on the way back from the players' dinner, we were all on this little shuttle bus, driving back from the park to the hotel, and OD Pixel discovered that there was a microphone, like you'd have for a tour, saying, "All right, ladies and gentlemen, coming on the left here, this building was built in 1912. It was built by the city to house Dota players who had yet to play Dota because it hadn't been discovered yet, and they knew that they needed Dota. So while we waited for Dota, and they were losing their minds, we put them in this building. We call it the Dota Asylum, and that's just there on the left. As I said, built in 1912. One of those mics. Well, instead, OD Pixel picked it up, and someone at the back said, "Sing karaoke." So he started singing Queen songs, and he sang that one. Tonight I'm gonna have myself a real good time. That one, and the whole bus was singing. The driver took his hands off the wheel to applaud at one point, which I was very impressed with and a little scared. And then when that had finished, we were waiting for him to come up with another song, and we thought, well, what are we going to do? And then he started singing Bohemian Rhapsody. The whole bus sang Bohemian Rhapsody. It was all of us, all 25 odd people on that bus were all singing it, apart from one person. Actually, well, to be fair, 2 people. One of them was me, because I was just laughing too much. Number 2 was Cinderin, who looked genuinely pained. And I felt very sorry for him, because I've been in that spot where everyone else is having a good time, and you just want to go to bed. And he was obviously tired, and he obviously hated every second of it. It was so funny. So I owe him a game of pool today to cheer him up. Anyway, cheers for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.